Hi guys, so Miss Cave here for my first official video. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit of day 9 with the graphing circles. Okay, so number 1 says a circle is referred to as a conic section. What is meant by this? Well, conic sounds a lot like cone. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to see. So if I draw a cone, create the cone, and then I drew a plane cutting the cone, splitting the cone at a certain point. That's going to create a section. Okay, in this case, this one's a little tilted. This one's kind of not a perfect circle. It's an ellipse. Okay, if I did it again, create a cone that was cut by a plane, but this time straight across. This one's going to create a perfect circle. Okay, so a conic section is a shape created by a plane intersecting with a cone. Okay? All right, number 2 says, what is the definition of a circle? Well, a circle is just the collection of points that are equidistant, or the same space away, from a center point. So if you look at this circle here, this is just the entire collection of points that's the same distance away from this center point. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a trick how to derive the equation for a circle. Okay, so if you look at what we're given here, well, I drew this. This is not the prettiest circle, but it'll do. So we have a circle with a radius. This radius, let's call it 5. Okay, so if we use the axes here, we can see that this center point of the circle is right around 2, 5. Okay, now if we want to construct some lines to make this a little bit easier, let's draw a line, a vertical line straight down from the point where it hits the circle, and a horizontal line straight across from the center. Okay, we constructed a 90-degree angle. These lines are perpendicular. Okay, now if we wanted to measure this line, what could we do? Well, we don't know exactly where this point will hit on the x and the y-axis. We don't know exactly where this point's going to hit on the y-axis, so we're just going to call it y. But we do know that this point here will have the same y value as this point here, which is 5. So we can say that this side is equal to y minus 5. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. So we have an x value of 2 here. But we don't know exactly where this x value is. So we're just going to call this one x. Okay, so if we were finding the distance, we would say that this is x minus 2. So now we have this side, we have this side, and we have the hypotenuse. So we know a theorem that would help here. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, that'll say that one side squared plus the other side squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So plugging that in here, we have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 5 squared. So down here I'm going to write that equation. What's the equation? We have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 5 squared, which equals 25. Okay, now what did we say the center of the circle was? We said the center of the circle was 2, 5. And the radius of the circle is 5. So here's what I want you to see. This equation that we derived has both points. It has the 2 and the 5, the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate of the center, and the radius squared. So what do we notice? We notice the equation gives both the center and the radius. So this is the general form of a circle. Okay, so let's flip back to that first page on day 9, and we're going to hit problem 3. All right, so we have h, x minus h. That's one of the sides. So we're going to square that. Plus y minus k. And we're going to square that. That equals r squared. Okay, great. So here's what I want you to see. When you set it up this way, your h value and your k value make up the center of the circle. We have h being x and k being y. This r squared is your radius squared. So let's look at this example. So here we have x minus 7, and in this case, the 7 is our x value. That's the center value. Here we have y plus 10, so be careful here. Instead of saying y minus 10, it's y plus 10. So that indicates that this 10 is negative. Negative 10. Okay? Now, if 81 is the radius squared, what's the radius? So in order to do that, we take the square root, and that's going to give us a radius of 9. Okay, here's one more example. Let's look at C here. So we have x minus 9 squared. So what's the center x value? It's going to be 9. Here we have y plus 2. Now in order to be in that form, it needs to be minus 2. So we know that this is actually negative 2. And if 1 is the radius squared, then the square root of 1 is the radius. 1. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is just finish up the rest of these problems in your packet, work on practicing those, and I'm sure you're going to have a bunch of questions to ask in class tomorrow, so we can work on that then. Bye.